All right, so today was my first full day back from vacation, and it was not the day that I was expecting. I was expecting to be working on my own stuff, getting caught up with my own office, and that's not what was going to happen this morning. I showed up at work in the Canadian tuxedo, and from the get-go, things just spiraled out of control. So I got an email at around 8:30 a.m. for a meeting notice that I was going to be meeting my boss uh, with Network and Gen Zero, and we were going to discuss a major office move that needs to be scheduled and done in less than 48 hours. Right now, I have less than 24 hours to get it done. Failure is not an option at all. It's not even on the table. They told me if you have to work 24 hours a day in order to get this done, you will get it done. Help is not coming because it's the holidays. My boss isn't even in the country. The one of the other IT guys is out of the country. Our main computer people are on vacation. It's just me, pretty much just me. There's just me and a hell of a lot of work and no coordination. That's what was obvious from the get go. I got a nervous call this morning because I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. So I called the VP of that area, and she was sitting in the office at the other location waiting for someone who was never going to show up. She was sick, she was angry, she didn't have any information, no coordination whatsoever in a major move. We're talking about moving four executives. And the executives do not tolerate failure in people. Not at all. Failure gets you fired with these people. And I had to figure it out. So I got that meeting notice at 8:30. At 9:30 I was sitting in a meeting telling me that I was going to be relocating the executives from the executive suites into a temporary location in another building in downtown. What they didn't tell me is this location is ill suited to house such the corporate brass, right? The best of the best, the of the top, the C-suite. And so I wasn't certain exactly what I was going to be doing. I mean, the instructions were there. I just looked at these instructions and like, you want me to move this entire department plus the executives from one building to another in this on short notice. And I got out of the meeting and then suddenly I started getting phone calls from the corporate office in another state because the main office for this corporation isn't even in this state. The executives live here because it's cheaper than living where they're at. But the actual office is located in another state. But that office started calling me, and this is how bad it was. While I was talking to her this afternoon, she's like, Millennial Steam, do you need me to fly out? If you need me to fly out, I can be there tomorrow, but if you don't need me, I want to be there to help. And I was just like, what are you going to do? You're a paper pusher. But she's the person whose job it is to coordinate facilities, meaning office moves. And so I'm talking to her, and she's just like, this is like being in hell. That's what she said to me. Because there's never enough people to help, and it's the day after the holiday season ended, so there's no one around, just me. And so I started looking through all of the equipment I'm supposed to install, and we're talking about boxes after boxes after boxes of new equipment. That's just the new equipment. All of their old office equipment has to be moved from one location to another as well. They wanted me to use my own car to move over 20 different entire systems from one site to the other. My car's not big enough. And the moving company fell through. And so I had to go get a security badge from the new location, get keys, figure out how we were going to put these people in here behind a secure network, and all of this with no instructions. Just this is what you're going to do. This is what's going to happen. If you don't get it done, believe me, you're going to be in a lot of hot water. And so 11 a.m., I arrive at the new site. It is, I don't even know how to describe it. It had the feel of a biology lab. Bare tables, concrete floors, glass doors. Like you're walking down this hallway and you just see groups of people in these tiny little like kitchen sized offices. And I'm like, okay, where is the server racks? Where is the network coming into this building? What access are we going to have? No access. So at this point, network calls me and he is losing his you know what. And I'm like, dude, you don't have any access in order to be able to put in our standard equipment, which includes firewall, switches, security, everything that goes in the wiring closet, domain controller, none of that. It's just a point to point connection with a firewall on one end. But where does the firewall go when you have five separate rooms? Five separate rooms with no connectivity between them. I'm not exactly certain how they're going to make that work. And when I got on the phone with Network, he was already cursing my boss a blue streak. The conversation started with, he doesn't seem to know what he's doing. That's how that conversation started today. And I was like, they record all my conversations, right? I said this to Network because they've been watching me very closely for the past few months. They're looking for write-ups because so far all they have is a bad feeling about me. But they don't have anything on paper. They don't have a single reason to write me up. They just have bad feeling towards me because I don't like working there and they know that. But that was a strange time walking through that building, looking at where you're going to put these people and thinking to yourself, how is this even going to work? So at that point, I did a tour with one of the guys. Oh, you guys are going to love this. So I walked up to the desk, and the receptionist was, I'm going to say, a 25-year-old man. By the looks of it, very, very polished, right? Had a GQ model aura about him, right? And I said to him, the first thing I noticed is how clean he was, like total, like skinny fit, big cross around his neck. And I said to him, it's like, dude, you're the only guy that I've met in your generation that's not covered in tattoos. And he stops and he looks at me and he says, I'm an actor. I was like, whoa, whoa, I'm an actor while you're working as a receptionist? Okay. You know, maybe, maybe, maybe that's a thing. But the fact that he had to tell me that he was an actor really blew me away. I don't stop people and tell people, it's like, you know what? I'm a loser. It's implied. All right, so I walk through. I see that one of the chief executives is there, and I wave at her through the glass. And it looks like she's in a conference call with like a billion other really important people when I look at her screen. And so I get another tour from another person in there who says to me, "We don't really know anything about IT. We know that you plug into the wall. You will not have access to anything beyond plugging into the wall." And she just kind of lays it out. You're not going to get a security key. If you're not here every day, you don't get a security key. And so I was like, okay, they gave me a day pass for security access into the building in order to be able to set up. Well, that's when I went to the lobby to talk to the network guy who was on a rant for 45 minutes. And then I got a call from my boss who said, this was after a meeting, after our talks, and he said, the executives called me this morning and they said that there cannot be any mistakes. And I thought to myself, that's easy for you to say when you're not in the country. And so while I was talking to the executive about where she wanted to sit, because remember, executives aren't like you and me. These are $1 million people, and I've got to move all four of them, including the top officer, the executive, corporate executive officer, I guess the CEO. I got to move that person. I didn't even know. Everyone kept using that person's first name in reference to where they were going to sit, and I'm like, well, they must be talking about someone else because that person doesn't live in the state. Oh no, they're getting an office here. So I've never met this person, and I hoped I would never have to meet them. So yeah, so I was walking around with her. We were looking at different things, and this is again, this is why they don't let us normal people talk to these people because they're normally very, very business, right? So we're walking down the hallway, and she says to me, "Hey, Millennial Stam, I gotta go take a dump and get a banana." And I'm like, "Did she really just say that?" That happened today. Take a dump and get a banana. All right. At that point, my boss is calling me again, right, on my phone. My phone's ringing with the through the company instant messaging app. And so he talks to me and it's like, hey, corporate office needs you to go up to the other office immediately because they're having the movers come in to do an estimate on what they're going to charge in order to move all the furniture. And I'm like, how is this my fault? Why am I here out of all the people in the entire tech department? Why am I here? Why am I the guy racing to the other side of the city to let in the salesperson for the moving company so that they can evaluate our needs? Of course, while I'm there, I don't know anything about this place, right? I just got this project dropped in my lap this morning. But they told me I needed to be up there immediately. The lady who handles facilities for the corporation is super nice. She just bought me a brand new fancy coffee machine that I will never be able to figure out how it all works. The instruction manual is like half an inch thick. I kid you not. This thing is like a spaceship coffee maker. And so I'm in the car. I call her up and she says, you need to get there now because he's on his way. And I'm like, I'm on the other side of the city. And she gives me his number. I call him up, and he's on the freeway. He's almost there. So I arrive at the site, and it takes him about 45 minutes, and that's when I get another call from my boss telling me to not deal with anything other than the technology. We want the printers, we want the networking equipment, we want everything out of that building and set up somewhere else, but don't get involved. And I'm like, your people are the people that told me that I needed to be here talking to this person when my job is in my office. So he finishes up with the quote. I have to meet him back at 8 a.m. At that office tomorrow morning. So I've got to go get Gen Zero because we've got to dismantle the office now. And so I've got to get everything ready in this office to be moved to the new space as fast as humanly possible. Because not only do I have to have the movers move it for me, I have to reconfigure everything. Printers, computers, everything has got to be configured and ready to go because they're moving in Monday morning. And so I leave that office, I go and I stop in, do a 20-minute workout, as much as I could do. And then I stopped and I got a, a protein smoothie on my way back. And Gen Z's ready to meet me in the parking lot. So he's in his car waving at me, and I'm like, okay, let's go. We're going to go up there and prep. And so there's just, I don't know if you guys have ever had to deal with Gen Z, but I thought Gen Z was finally going to go away because he couldn't afford his rent. But Gen Z, well, his parents are very wealthy. So instead of giving him presents for Christmas, his family gave him a very, very large sum of money. Very, very large. You're talking about enough to go buy a car if you wanted to in cash right now. And I was like, oh my God, they're enabling him. They're like, stay on that side of the country. And I was like, if my parents gave me that much money, oh my God, it'd just be like hookers and substances. But no, that was in a nutshell. There's a lot of other strange, stuff having to do with technology that you guys don't want to, I don't want to bore you with. But that was my first day back from vacation from the holidays. It was one of the most stressful things that I've ever had to do because, again, I'm not that guy. This isn't my area. I coordinate logistics for shipping. I run the parts department. So you think about that. I run the parts department, and this is what they've asked me to do because there's no one else. So tomorrow, today, I actually got as much. My boss said, "Do not do anything related to your normal job. Your normal job doesn't exist until this project is done." And so he gave me the thumbs up for as much overtime as I need in order to make this work. Unfortunately, my my only worker, and you can't just, of course, people don't understand what it's like to have a Gen Zero as your only employee. They don't believe in hard work. They don't believe in doing anything correctly. They just want to do whatever they want. So it's tough. Oh, on top of that, I was given the company credit card in order to buy uh, two large lunches for both today and tomorrow. Unfortunately, they didn't tell me that until late in the afternoon that in order to get this emergency project done, that the corporate office was going to allow us to have basically bribe us with food. I guess it's really what it comes down to. But yeah, that was my day in a nutshell. Wasn't expecting for this to happen. I knew that they were planning on moving, but that stuff isn't me. I'm not facilities. I'm not the movers. I'm not whoever's supposed to be doing this. It ain't me. But here I am. And tomorrow is going to be. I have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm meeting a network guy to discuss what we're going to put into that tiny little room because they're going to try to cram as many people into that office as humanly possible. And I still have no idea how this is going to happen. Anyhow, if you guys, I don't know what to say. I'm exhausted. I've been, I've been running around, driving around all over the city for hours today and just getting more stressed out, getting more phone calls from people that I shouldn't be talking to as a person in my position. But I I don't know what they would have done if they had fired me during my last review and this project came up and everyone who works in this department in this part of the country isn't in the state. Like my boss called Gen Zero the day after Christmas and asked him why he wasn't in the office. And Gen Zero had to tell him, I'm sorry, but I'm about 13 states away. And my boss is like, well, why is that? Like, my boss definitely doesn't believe in my office ever being closed. And that's why there are 10 months out of the year in which I'm not allowed not to be at work. That's why I take all my vacation time at Christmas and Thanksgiving. I've been doing the same thing for 3 years because otherwise, there's just no way for me to be able to be away from the office. There were so many mission critical things that I needed to do in my own office today. Because again, I've been gone since the 16th of December, 17th of December. And so there's been no one to do any of my jobs since then. So, of course, you have managers, directors, HR, different office locations. They all need someone to take care of their problems, and today it wasn't me. So by the time I get around to doing my own job, I'm going to be so far behind, I don't think I'll ever be able to get caught up. Because with the holidays, at least it slows down to some extent because people like not being at work during the holidays. But once the holidays are over, it's business as usual. The corporation just kicks into high gear again. And I am not going to be able to deal with any of the corporate problems until next week, starting next week. So that means I'm going to have 3 weeks of not being able to do my regular job. And all that work, there's no one else at this corporation that does anything related to my position. If I'm not there, that work doesn't get done. So to say that I'm important, I like to tell myself I am. But the reality is the corporations, they don't need anyone. Everyone is replaceable. No one knows how to do my job or what I really do, but everyone's replaceable. And that's what I tell myself every single day. There's no such thing as job security in the current job market. Anyhow, it was a long video. I wish I had more of a message, but unfortunately, this is what you happen. This is what happens to people who work in technology when the company is still won't hire enough people in order to be able to have some redundancy in certain positions.